Think you know climate change? The real shocker isn't the warming itself, but how our massive modern energy system is colliding with ancient planetary wobbles we only recently decoded. Let's explore. We are told the science is settled by thousands of experts. Yet if you question it, you are instantly labeled a denier, which conveniently kills any rational debate. Let's unpack this. When debating the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving, don't scream science at him. Use the Columbo principle instead. Act a bit clueless. Ask soft questions and let him overconfidently tangle himself up. Let him proudly explain how climate has always changed throughout deep geological history. He's actually right about that part, but for reasons he definitely doesn't understand. Let's play along with him now. Our cozy home planet has transitioned from massive pole to pole snowball states to scorching greenhouse hothouses over 500 million years. But why did those shifts occur? Let's ask. Enter Milutin Milankovitch, the brilliant Serbian mathematician who calculated the pacemaker of Earth's historic ice ages in the 1920s. He found three distinct majestic celestial wobbles that dictate planetary cycles. The first wobble is eccentricity, the slow change in Earth's orbital shape from circular to elliptical over a 100,000-year cycle. This directly changes our physical distance to the Sun. Currently, we are closest to the Sun in early January, meaning we get slightly more solar radiation during our northern winter. This giant eccentricity cycle is governed primarily by massive Jupiter. The second wobble is obliquity, the tilt of Earth's axis. It slowly rocks between 22 and 24 degrees over a 41,000-year cycle, shifting seasonal extremes. Yes, the third cycle is precession, where Earth's axis wobbles like a spinning top. This slow circular wobble takes 26,000 years and changes which star serves as our North Star. When these three Milankovitch cycles align, they alter the intensity of sunlight hitting crucial northern latitudes. This grand astronomical pacemaker is what historically kicked off our massive glacial cycles. Yes, indeed. Skeptics love pointing to these natural cycles to explain away current warming. But they ignore a massive, deeply inconvenient detail. The precise timing of these celestial cycles is completely wrong. Yes, Milankovitch cycles operate over tens of thousands of years. Our current warming is happening in just decades, a speed that astronomical wobbles simply cannot achieve. It is simply too fast. Yes. In fact, we have 16,000 years before the next natural glacial cycle is scheduled to begin. Yet, we are already rocketing temperatures upward now, defying the natural astronomical schedule completely. What about the Sun? Deniers love blaming solar cycles, claiming scientists ignore our local star. But satellite data shows solar output has been steady and even slightly cooling since 1950. It cannot be galactic rays either, which cycle every 20 million years, far too long to explain our current crisis. The anything-but-carbon crowd is running out of star power. They often resort to claiming carbon dioxide is just a trace gas, representing a tiny fraction of our atmosphere. They ask how could something so microscopic possibly alter an entire planet? But here is the trick. Ask them how many tons of carbon dioxide are actually up there. Since they never say, "I don't know," they will always guess wildly and fail. The real answer is a staggering 3.3 trillion tons of carbon dioxide. We have dumped over 1 trillion tons of that heavy total since the Industrial Revolution began. Yes. Think that trace amount can't block light? If you mix just 0.3% of black ink into a glass of water, it turns completely opaque. You cannot see through it. If carbon dioxide were visible as a black gas, our blue sky would look entirely black and opaque. Suddenly, that tiny trace gas argument doesn't seem so clever anymore, does it? Next, the skeptics claim CO2 always lags global temperature. They point to deep ice cores showing temperatures rose first, then carbon dioxide followed. Another beautiful half-truth is exposed. Yes, indeed. Historically, orbital wobbles triggered the initial melting of ice sheets. But as the deep oceans warmed, they released dissolved carbon dioxide, which then amplified and drove the global warming process. Yes, but today the oceans aren't releasing carbon dioxide. Because we have already pumped so much gas into the atmosphere, partial pressure is forcing the oceans to absorb carbon dioxide instead. Yes, how do we know the extra carbon dioxide is definitely our fault? The smoking gun is clearly written in the atomic weight of the carbon atoms themselves, a true chemical fingerprint. Plants prefer the lighter carbon-12 isotope over the heavier carbon-13. Because fossil fuels are made from ancient plants, burning them releases carbon-12, diluting the atmosphere's carbon-13 ratio. Volcanoes emit a completely different isotopic signature. By measuring this drop in carbon-13, scientists proved with absolute certainty that fossil fuels are the primary driver of modern warming. Yes, indeed. Skeptics then retreat, claiming climate models are just unreliable computer simulations. But basic fundamental greenhouse physics was established in the 1890s, long before digital computers even existed in our world. Computers don't invent the physics, they merely speed up the complex math. And those early models already predicted a 3-degree warming for doubling CO2, which is remarkably accurate today. Yes, the real canary in the coal mine is the rapid retreat of global glaciers. They aren't reading computer models, they are simply responding directly to the natural melting point of ice. We are also seeing thermal expansion in action. As ocean water warms, it expands, pushing sea levels higher and threatening coastal infrastructure built for a stable climate that no longer exists. But here is where the discussion gets highly nuanced. Is climate change really an immediate extinction-level threat to our entire species, or is it a massive, manageable economic problem? Yes, rich nations can afford to build massive seawalls, adapt agriculture, and install advanced air conditioning. For them, modern climate change is a costly, annoying inconvenience, not the absolute end of times. But for the developing world, the situation is completely different. In poor developing nations, people often settle in hazardous floodplains out of sheer economic necessity, making them incredibly vulnerable to disasters. Look at Jakarta, which is currently sinking a foot every single year due to heavy groundwater extraction, a hazard far outstripping sea level rise. They must move their entire capital city. This is a vulnerability emergency hiding behind a climate label. The losses we see daily are often driven more by where and how we build than the changing weather itself. Yes. For instance, Florida's massive housing stock exploded from 600,000 homes to 10 million over 80 years. When a hurricane hits, the resulting damage skyrocketing is simply basic math. Yes. To save these people, local zoning, better housing rules, and stopping federal risk subsidies are vastly more effective and immediate than trying to weakly tweak the global climate system. Yes, indeed. Furthermore, forcing poor nations to ditch cheap, reliable fossil fuels before green alternatives are economically viable is morally reprehensible. It locks billions into absolute grinding poverty. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, yes. Cheap energy is the fastest vehicle to lift humanity out of poverty. Once these poor people escape survival mode, they naturally begin to care about and actively protect their local environment. Yet elite environmental campaigns actively lobby the World Bank to block modern gas and fertilizer projects in countries like Bangladesh and Ghana, leaving millions facing severe grinding food insecurity. Yes, indeed. In Bangladesh, they recently cut cyclone deaths from hundreds of thousands to just over 100. They did this through simple, cheap local adaptations like concrete shelters, not global emission targets. Instead of punishing expensive carbon taxes that drive up heating and electricity bills for the poorest families, we must focus heavily on global green energy innovation. Yes, indeed, yes, indeed, yes. If we can innovate alternative power sources to be undeniably cheaper than dirty fossil fuels, the entire world will switch automatically without needing coercive taxes or complex climate treaties. Yes, indeed. Take fourth-generation modular nuclear power, passively safe reactors that shut down automatically if power fails and cannot easily be weaponized. It offers abundant, clean, reliable baseload power. Yes, indeed, yes. We solved Los Angeles smog in the 1950s, not by forcing everyone to walk, but by cleverly inventing the catalytic converter. Human progress always relies on clever technological innovation. Yes, we must fund massive energy research and development, which has been historically neglected compared to healthcare or defense spending. It is the ultimate high-return investment for our global future. Yes. So let's step back from the apocalyptic doomism that paralyzes young minds. The world isn't ending in 12 years. We are simply in a temporary catch-up mode. Yes, indeed, yes. Armed with real, nuanced facts, you can now disarm the Thanksgiving myths, bypass the political theater, and focus on what actually works to build a resilient, beautiful planet. Yes, indeed, yes. The next time someone throws a simplified climate trope at you, smile warmly, channel your inner Columbo, and lead them gently toward the fascinating, messy truth. Stay curious. Yes, indeed, yes.
Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, click like and follow.